Hi, welcome to all of you who are here, and I know there are still members coming in, but this is a great crowd to begin with. My name is Amy Nijkamp. I am the president of the Sonoma County NOW chapter, and if you aren't really familiar with NOW, we are the largest grassroots feminist organization in the country. We have some 250,000 members in all, 50 states and DC, and it was founded in 1966, so been around quite a while. Our core issues are reproductive rights and justice, economic justice, LGBTQ rights, racial justice, ending violence against women, constitutional equality, you name it, we're for it. And we're trying to be as supportive as possible. And so when Elaine, who is our past president and current treasurer, when she heard about the Athena House program being shut down, she got on the bandwagon, and here we are. So I want to turn the meeting over to Elaine and let her talk.
Well, thank you so much, Amy. Amy is just an absolute wonderful president. We're just really, really grateful to have her. Well, I want to welcome everybody, and thank you so much, Amy, for introducing me. And also, I want to do a special shout out to my friend Debbie McKay, who is online here. She's the past president of the League of Women Voters, and we took this on kind of together a little bit as a project, not attached to NOW or the League, but just as two individual women who were just very, very concerned. And it was really interesting when I called her and told her what was happening. And I said to her, she started talking. She's a former union person.
My father there.
Guys, you have to mute if you're not talking, because otherwise we pick up all kinds of sounds. It's the old idea, let's just take care of each other. And one of the things is sound. But Debbie, I want to thank her personally. We took it on together, and I asked her to please write up everything she told me on the phone, and she did, and we turned it into an article, and we had it printed in the Peace and Justice Center. And I really want to thank them for that they were able to get the word out so quickly for us. So that's really, really amazing. So before we start, and our first speaker is going to be Lynn Woolsey, Congresswoman Lynn Woolsey, who is my favorite congresswoman. And I mean, people like her were the ones that made a big difference for women. I mean, we really need to shout out and really appreciate that. I mean, she was a pioneer and did many, many things for us to open many, many doors. But before we start, I thought we would all go around, and I don't know how to do this. Maybe I'll just call your name out. I'm going to go around in a circle. So let's start with you, Deborah. Just tell us a little, Deborah McKay, just tell us a little bit about you, your name and your organization.
Yes, so as was mentioned, I'm the past president of the League of Women Voters. I'm not here representing the League. I'm just here as an individual, but I'm a lifelong resident of Sonoma County and very much an advocate most of my life, and was horrified when I heard that this incredibly successful program was being closed down with really no discussion or notice to the community, and it just doesn't make sense to me. So I was very happy when I had a chance to talk to Elaine about it, and we decided to try to gather other women together and see if we can send this in a new direction.
Thank you, Debbie. Eileen, Bill, introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Eileen, and I was on the board now, and
Let her go.
longtime resident of Sonoma County since '80. And well, I went to the grand opening of Athena House long ago. I was very impressed with the program, so it's hard to see it have to go.
Thank you, Eileen, for being here. Nicole? Nicole, can you hear me?
Yes, sure. I'm Nicole, and I've been in the nonprofit sector in Napa and Sonoma counties for a while. I'm just here as an individual in recovery and a freelance grant writer, hoping that that there's some advocacy or philanthropic opportunities that we can get behind to save it if there's a possibility of that.
Someone has their mic on, it's making a terrible noise. If you could close it down. Jasmine.
Hi, you guys. I'm Jasmine Palmer. I am, alumni of Athena House, and Brooke and I have kind of been the originators to try and find solutions on keeping Athena House alive. So I worked in nonprofit for a long time, and drug and alcohol for the last 10 years. And it's great to be here and have so many people rally around us, it's very heartwarming to see the passion and support coming from other women. So thanks.
Robin.
Hello, everyone. I'm Robin Robbins, and I am thrilled to have found this meeting just last minute. My husband works in social justice, so he got a hold of the information. I work for the National Children's Trust Fund Alliance, which is a prevention organization, but I am a 20-year resident of Sonoma County, and I am a former foster parent as of last year. I have worked tirelessly alongside this amazing place called Athena House with moms, with my partner, Jody Rogers. I think some of you know Jody. Jody's a birth parent. I'm a foster parent, but we work as a team to support and heal families. And so I work specifically with moms with their newborns, and hopefully dads as well if we can. And I can't even begin to think about what we're going to do without Athena House. It's the one of the places I've seen really have an impact and support families in a way that they don't get anywhere else. And I also know that where else are these folks going to go? It's just I'm dreading the possibility. So I'm here to use all of my national contacts or whatever I can to help out. Thank you for having this meeting.
Oh, thank you, Robin. Leona. I love your purple.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Leona Judson, and I'm a member of the local league, the League of Women Voters, and chair of the advocacy committee. I'm here as an individual, and the potential closure of Athena House has touched a raw nerve in our league, and so I want to be here and learn more and see if there's anything we can do to keep it open.
Thank you so much. And one of my favorite people, Dana. I haven't seen you for a long time, Dana. That's that. Put your sound on. Huh?
Hi, Elaine. Hi, Victoria. I have been with the left for 58 years. I'm not representing any group, but I'm a member of Democratic Socialists of America.
Thank you.
Yay.
Tina Rivera.
Hi, I'm Tina Rivera, the Director for the Department of Health Services. And I just want to say we've been working with Jasmine and Brooke and many others to look at some short-term strategies, immediate, urgent strategies to ensure that we have residential and outpatient services for our residents here in Sonoma County. So I'm just happy to be a part. These services and supports have been key and essential for this community, and we are going to do what we can do to keep them going.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much. Victoria. Put your sound on.
Yes, I'm very grateful to be here. I am an attorney for over 35 years, and I've been volunteering with Homeless Action for quite a while now. And I'm on the board of SAVE, Sonoma Applied Village Services, which we're running the safe parking in Sebastopol right now, the Horizon Shine. But we're hoping to open up a Latinx village soon. But I have extra ties to Athena House, which is, I have been a member of a certain 12-step organization that will remain anonymous. And so it's beautiful to see all the women walk over to Doyle Park, at 9:30 in the morning, and Oh my God, I can't imagine that meeting without those women there, because so many go through recovery there, and I really admire the program. I try to support as many individuals as I can, but I'm just a rabble rouser, and I'm at your service. Thank you.
Welcome to all the rabble rousers. You know, I've been looking around the room, and that I'm proud to know all of you. Like John Lewis always said, we all make good trouble together. So thank you. Kate.
Yeah, hi. Am I on? I have to see if I'm on.
You're on, love. Now we can't see your face.
Now I see my, oh, great. I'm loving it.
There you go.
Sorry, here I am. Hi, my name is Kate Jenkins, and I was one of the co-founders of Athena House. We were working on it for a while, incorporated in '77. And I think that's what I will say for right now. Well, no, there are a couple other things. I am feeling, and Jasmine and I have been in touch, and she knows this. I actually am building fury at California Human Development for doing the misdeed. I think it's very anti-community to drop Athena House. I think they're out of touch by doing this. I used to work for CHTC for many years, and but that was back in the George Ortiz days. And this new reign is not community oriented as far as I can see. I'm very disappointed, pretty furious. And that's what I'll say for right now.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, Kate, about George, because I know personally that he was very passionate about this program.
Yes, he was.
Passionate. And it's interesting that after he died is when all of a sudden all this happens. Anyway, Rebecca Dawn.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the NOW secretary currently, and I'm woefully ignorant about Athena House. I'd like to hear just sort of a 2-sentence, 1-paragraph summary.
Well, we're going to give a history of Rebecca.
Okay, thank you.
Megan.
Hi, everybody. My name is Megan Gordon. I show up for events that I can for Elaine and Susan and, Carl, and I am in sobriety. I am always in sobriety. I'm always going to an AA meeting or sponsoring somebody. I've been to Athena House many times as a sponsor, and we need to support people not being incarcerated and people regaining their children. I think they're taken away a little too quickly, actually. So they need to help getting their children back. And I'm all for supporting it. And if you direct my energies, I will probably give some of it to the cause. Thank you.
Real quickly, I want to say about getting back their children. I saw many, many women get their children back. And the day they got them back, there is no experience a woman could have other than see another woman get her child back. I mean, it makes me want to cry when I think about it. Barbara.
Hi, I'm Barbara Cohen, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, and I'm here as an individual with a particular interest in housing, but really don't know much about Athena House, so I'm anxious to learn. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Melissa. Are you there, Melissa? Let's go on to Linda.
Sorry.
Oh, here's
Can
Melissa.
you hear me?
Now I can hear
yeah,
you.
Yeah, double mute. Sorry about that. My name is Melissa Struzzo, and I'm with the Department of Health Services. I work in the Substance Use Disorder Services section, and I just want to echo all that Tina Rivera, about us trying to look for short-term and long-term solutions. So we're in the process of doing that, and have had a chance to meet with a few different folks and agencies, and just continue to try and find some solutions to address this situation. So thank you for having us here today.
Well, thank you for being here, Melissa, for showing up. Linda.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. My name is Linda Evans. I'm part of the Immigrant Defense Task Force and also North Bay Organizing Project. I'm here as an individual. I am formerly incarcerated and know firsthand what an important role Athena House plays in our community and how important it is that recovery is really looked at in a human services and health services context. So I'm really appreciative that the head of health services, Ms. Rivera, and others are here from that department. And Jasmine and Brooke, thank you for bringing this to the public attention. We have to do something about it.
Thank you. Janice.
Hi there. I'm Jan Blaylock. I'm chair of the Commission on the Status of Women for Sonoma County. And we have sponsored several events for Athena House in the past. And personally, I've worked with Redemption House, which has had Sylvie was our treasurer, and the president of two of the founders of Redemption House, which is for human trafficking education, and all our people who went through the program at Athena House and then worked there and are doing so phenomenally and doing so much for the community, in part because of this really imperative program that Athena House has. And I've had the pleasure of touring and bringing some things there before. And I was completely shocked to hear about this shutdown. And so our commission, in our meeting, we discussed it and wanted to be sure to add support and see what we can do to be helpful.
Well, thank you, Janice. I'm so glad you're here, my love.
Thank you.
Turn on, Diana, but don't drop out. Just hit the little button there.
There we go.
There we go, Diana.
Better. I'm Diana Goodrow. I'm a transplant from Ventura County, where I was a member of the Commission for Women for many years, and also a member of what we call the Women's Forum, which is a organization that supports the Beijing Platform for Action. I attended in 1995, so I go way back. And I heard about this, and I wanted to see if there was anything I could do. So I'm here to listen and to learn. Thank you.
I'm glad you're here. You say way back. They want to push us back there.
Well, that's the place I came. Let's not go back there. Okay. We fought too hard and too long to get here. So we're not going back. We refuse.
Amen. Celeste, my dear.
Good evening. My name is Celeste Austin, and I've been working in the nonprofit world for about 30 years. And it was shocking to hear that there's this possibility that Athena House is closing, Stone House, such a vital program in this community for mothers and women who are transitioning out of different systems and putting their lives back together. And we cannot forget the children whose lives are also being repaired by this program. I find it to be more than disheartening, but it's a tragedy that we are at this point in Sonoma County, where a vital program such as Athena House that is affordable in some ways, that reaches populations that don't have big money to go to some of these private places for recovery. And the thought that Athena House could potentially not be available for our women and children in this community is not only shocking, but it's a terrible thought. It's good to see the women who are here today. It's good to see people in positions of some influence that can also have their voices heard and maybe move the envelope around this issue. I think that it's a real thing clinically for the women who are struggling and who are wondering what is the next step? What is the next step for them? Where are they going to get after care? Where are they going to get the support they've gotten from Athena House and from the staff and from the women in the community who go there and do various forms of service? So I'm here with open ears and an open heart. Thank you.
Like that, open ears and open heart. What a beautiful saying, Celeste. Thank you. And oh my goodness, an old good trouble buddy of mine. I'm going to introduce Gregory.
Thank you, Elaine. Like the rest of you, I have been around for a long time. I know quite a few of you. We've shared battles in the past, and I'm like the rest of you just here to try to assess the situation and see if there's anything I can do.
Thank you, Gregory. Thank you for being here. Gregory and I served on a board. We go back all the way to Sonoma State when we were both little kids. Mary Frances.
Thank you for having me. I'm Mary Frances Walsh. I'm Executive Director at NAMI Sonoma County, and I'm here as well to listen and learn. And I have to tell you that I am not intimately familiar with the programs at Athena House, except for observing the women on their morning walks, which is an incredibly uplifting feel. So I know that something is working right. But in addition to that, I know how many people, the people that we serve are people who live with mental health conditions and their families. And I know how common the crossover is between with people who are experiencing mental health challenges and also experience substance use challenges. So the two worlds, you know, are very connected. And so I'm very interested and concerned about the loss of these services. I think it's definitely a loss for the community. I hear that from the people that I've connected with who are more aware than I about Athena House's services. And I'm here to lend my support and make sure that our community at NAMI Sonoma County is aware of the situation and can lend its support. Thank you.
NAMI is a great program. Actually, it used to be right across the hall from KBBF. So when I came in and did my radio show, I could stop in and find out anything that's happening, if I could make any announcements and all that. So good to see you, Mary Frances.
Yeah, thank you.
And Brooke Ross. And we got two more people, Brooke and then Gary.
Hi, my name is Brooke Ross, and I am an Athena House alumni. Graduated in 2014, I believe, and currently work in the business community and employ some other graduates from Athena House, and some currently that will be directly impacted by the closure of Hope Village, the sober living capacity of the Athena House program. And I am on here this evening. Jasmine and I, when we learned about the closure of the program, just felt obligated to at least spread awareness and see what we could do. And just being in this Zoom meeting with all of these women and with all of this reach is, I mean, I have like chills. So I'm just so grateful to be here. And I feel like together we'll be able to do something. So thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. It's wonderful working with you and Jasmine. I mean, you're a great example for what the program does and also what you can do and once you go through the program, all that you have to contribute. It's an amazing process. And finally, Gary.
I'm Jerry Lalondeberg. I'm truly honored to be among such a group of powerful and thoughtful women. I mostly just want to second what Brooke and Celeste said, and anything I can do to help, I'd be happy to.
Well, what a wonderful, wonderful group this is. And
we also have people on page 2.
Yeah, Elaine, there's at least 8 others that haven't.
Oh, really?
but I think we'll run out of time if we do. However,
I can't see
quickly,
you guys. So if anybody wants to say anything, let's hear you real quick.
I can quickly tell you who is on that second, is Barbara Lee, Alice, Mary Binger.
Is Shirley Zane there?
Not yet, but Alicia Sanchez is.
Oh.
Nancy Meredith, Amelia, and Annie Valentine, and Leah.
Okay, why don't we please forgive me, on stage on screen number 2, I'll make time at the end and we'll get there, if that's okay with you. I'm really sorry about that. I didn't realize, I'll tell you, I don't know about, I don't know the technology well enough. Okay, before we start, I'm going to introduce Lynn Woolsey. She's going to give us a 5-minute presentation and talk about her experience with Athena House and the fact that she was on the Commission on the Status of Women. But before we start, I just want to tell you about who Athena was. Athena is a Greek goddess known as both Pallas and Athene. In their ancient Greek mythology, they often associated her with both warfare and wisdom, as well as handicraft, courage, inspiration, civilization, law and justice, strategic warfare, mathematics, strength, strategy, the arts and skill. So that's Athena. And one last thing I want to comment, in the first facility that we had, like I said, I was the first staff. I was out working with a client on our balcony in the place that we were at. And all of a sudden the woman and I heard this hoot, 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 and we freaked out. We kind of came together and there was an owl. Oh. And Athena was always identified with owls. So I know not only is it a powerful program, but it was a blessed program by Athena herself. That's what we said. We all went, we had a staff meeting at the next week and we all talked about the owl and the fact that the owl had blessed the facility. So thank you for listening to my story. So I'm going to introduce Congresswoman Lynn Woolsey, who's going to tell us about her experience with the Commission on the Status of Women and with Athena House. Welcome, Lynn, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure. I think that it's, never mind. The pausing of after you turn off your microphone is gonna take up all your time. So what I wanted to say was I was on the Commission on the Status of Women. It's very second year and became the chair. And from that grew into the Congresswoman. I mean, imagine that. That's what the good training of all those wonderful women do for me, and did for me. But that is not, I want to tell you that we did not start the Athena House because we couldn't be that political, but we were 100% behind it all the time. And when it, in 1971, 72, when the papers were all signed and everything was finally together, there was such a sigh of relief because we knew that something really, really important had happened for women and for our community. Now, I'd like to say that I heard about it and the Press Democrat barely talked about it. They don't probably love you like I do. But it all coincides with the Supreme Court change, Roe v. Wade, and all the arguments over women's and their choices and what our lives are going to be and our children's, well, what our children's lives are going to be. And I have to tell you, we cannot let this happen to Athena House because it's symbolic. It's symbolic about taking one step right now away of health and services that women need. And women needed Athena House and it proved itself. And it's just terrorizing to me, the thought that it could be taken away. Now I have one more thing because I might not be here through the whole thing. I just realized I'm on the board of Centerpoint in Marin County. They also run the drug abuse program in Sonoma County, drug and alcohol. They are very well-funded, very, very supportive and successful. I can't imagine that they won't be interested in hearing about whether or not they can adopt you, Athena House. So we need to talk about this. This is very important. It could really just save the whole day. So, and thank you for pulling this together, Elaine, and your friends and Jasmine. But I'm glad to work with you, whatever. You know, we letters to the editor, but op-eds and all that, they'll can help. So I'll be glad to help you there too.
Well, thank you, Lynn. Thank you for always being so supportive. I mean, I've known Lynn, we've known each other over the years and always could call her for support or help. And here she is showing up again. Thank you so much. Okay, let's bring the next person on, and that's going to be Kate Jenkins. And Kate's going to give us, like Rebecca requested, Kate is going to give us an overview, a little bit of history. She did a little bit of, like what she told me on the phone, I'm not 100% Elaine. I says, no matter what you present, Kate, it's going to be fine. You will let us know how it began and some of your experiences and how you feel about what is happening. So go ahead, Kate, it's all yours, my love.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think it makes most sense for me to read what I've written, so I apologize if it sounds like I'm reading, because I am. So here's my memory. In 1975, there was a group of individuals who were members of the Criminal Justice Task Force, which was a subgroup of the Sonoma County Commission on the Status of Women. The task force group members included a probation officer named Dale Carlson, although some people say he was a parole agent, and sorry, I don't remember which. I thought he was probation. But in any case, there were other members, each representing an aspect of the community. Maura Plowman was one, Mary Samus was one, and I think Mary Samus was actually a member of the commission itself. And I was one of them. Let's see. So one of the issues that the task force was tasked with was to review female inmate treatment in Sonoma County, including investigating the fact that there was an honor farm for male inmates, but nothing similar available for women. The honor farm, also known as the North County Detention Facility, was a minimum security facility that allowed its residents less intense supervision and more family connection and programmatic opportunities than the main jail did. And the main jail was where the more severe male offenders were kept and all the female offenders were kept. So in other words, there were two jails. One was the main jail, which was very archaic and just unimaginably old and out of date. And that's where the severe male offenders were and the female offenders were. Wow. The North County facility was the Fairmont in comparison. And the male inmates out there were allowed to have more quality contact with family members than females were allowed at the main. The task force members determined that this was not an acceptable inequity and that female inmates should have the same or similar privileges that male inmates had. We researched program models, visited women's programs in the Bay Area, and arrived at the conclusion that the legal and ethical responsibility of the county was to support the concept that female and male treatment must be at least comparable to that of male inmates. Wow. And we reported our recommendations to the Commission on Status of Women, because they're our overreaching board that we communicated with. And we recommended that a minimum security facility needed to be made available for women. Our recommendations were accepted by the commission, which then proceeded to bring the issue to the Board of Supervisors. We were given, our task force was given the green light to move forward with this project. And I have to say, because Len may remember this differently. However, the way I remember it is for reasons that are way beyond my reach. Our task force was given a kind of a carte blanche in a way, because we basically created Athena House. We filed for incorporation and became a nonprofit. What I mean is Athena House became a nonprofit. And those of us on the task force were the incorporators and the original board of directors. Between 1975 and 77, we chose a name for the new women's facility, which was Athena House, suggested by someone who worked at Athena House later on. Her name was Joan Guisi.
Oh, yeah.
She's now known as Joan Guisi McCammon. We sought funding. We looked for an ideal location for this facility. We drafted and filed the articles of incorporation in 1977, at once becoming the co-founders, incorporators, and board of directors. We drafted the bylaws and filed all the appropriate state and federal documents. The first location for Athena House was actually Maura Plowman's home, because that's the best we could do with what we had at the time. So we opened the doors of Athena House at her house. Because we had not yet secured funding, we needed to rent an appropriate space. And Maura offered her home, which was extremely generous. Athena House received some funding and found just the right location, sort of. The new facility was on Mendocino Avenue and near the probation department, which played a large role in Athena House, as it turned out. It was also just down the street from a very well-known watering hole called the Wagon Wheel. So there's a little bit of irony there. I mentioned the probation department because that department was the Athena House key liaison with the Sonoma County criminal justice system at that time. The women who were referred to Athena House had to be on supervised probation to complete their sentences. This was the deal that Athena House struck in order to move forward. This was not exactly in parity with how the minimum security incarcerated men were treated out at the North County facility. Their sentences would end when they left jail custody. But in a way, it was better in that the women weren't in jail custody while they completed their sentences. From 1977 to 1980, Athena House moved into its new location, which was on Mendocino Avenue. Maura Plowman resigned from the board to become the executive director. We hired staff, Elaine being one of those people. We emphasized vocational and educational progress and placement for the women, which is a little different from as Athena House evolved. It became a tiered, T-I-E-R-E-D, tiered treatment program. In the beginning, it was really oriented toward obviously women reuniting with their children, women getting jobs, women going to school and getting training. So we weren't on board yet with the importance of a tiered treatment model that came later. We went through a series of executive directors, the norming, storming, forming business. There was staff and board upheaval. The organization needed better administrative structure and management. And therefore, in 1980, California Human Development Corporation was asked to become the administrative entity for Athena House. And there, at that point, Athena House became a program of California Human Development Corporation. So that's up through 1980. Over time, Athena House and the probation department eased some of their direct ties, and CHDC's Athena House Women's Treatment Program was no longer an arm of the probation department. The county detention division, in other words, the jail, began to house women at the North County Detention Facility. Athena House had a long-term executive director named Carol Pyle.
Great, Carol.
Years and years. Athena House found a new home on Humboldt Street. Athena House evolved into a well-respected, one-of-a-kind tiered treatment program. Carol Pyle resigned, Jenna McAdam became the executive director, and you guys are fairly familiar with the rest. Elaine, if it's okay with you, could I drop in some opinion here, or do you want me to save it?
Oh, no, go ahead.
This is difficult to say, given that there are a couple of people who are representing Centerpoint in this meeting. And Jasmine, I would ask you to stop me if I get out of line, please. I definitely have a bias about Athena House. It cannot be denied. I was one of the founders, therefore one of the mamas. I spent actually years doing some consulting there, and a couple of people are familiar with that, doing treatment programming on meditation, self-esteem workshops. And I was learning as I was growing, as I hoped others were also. I saw successes, and it was what I saw that I appreciate more than I can say is that Athena House, in my opinion, became the best treatment program in Sonoma County. And I think so I work in the jail now. That's where I currently work, and I've been here for quite a long time. And so I get to see folks before, during, after, et cetera, et cetera. And I get to hear feedback about the treatment programs, because people cycle in and out, and all of that. And Athena House is by far, under the direction of Sylvie and others, is just the best. The programming is incredible. And so I am opinionated, and I admit that straight up. There are two other treatment programs in Sonoma County that the county has been, up until fairly recently, contracting with. One is what was called DAC, which is now under Centerpoint, and the other is Women's Recovery Services. Women's Recovery Services has some similar services to Athena House in that it serves women and children, their children. And Athena House serves women and their children. However, Athena House is, again, there's my bias, is just a stronger program. The experience of the women who work there, the history that goes into the programming is incredible. It cannot be denied at all. DAC, also known as Centerpoint DAC, and Turning Point, the residential treatment program of DAC, Centerpoint, is a coeducational program, has been for quite some time. They used to have a separate facility for men and a separate facility for women, but a variety of factors made that not happen anymore. It has been shown over and over that coeducational programs are not as effective as dedicated gender programs are. And one reason is hormones. I think many of you know that probably that often people such as myself who have addiction problems have addictions to relationships. And that can really get in the way of working on your drug and alcohol issues. So if you are away from that and can work singularly and very focused on your treatment issues, that is really a strong point for Athena House, as well as Women's Recovery Services, although Athena House has some stronger programming. I think it would be a disservice, and I'm sorry, I sound like I'm opinionated, and as I said, I am. I think it would be a disservice to Athena House to be under the umbrella of DAC Centerpoint. even though there's a strong relationship that agency has with the county, obviously. I think there are a couple of other agencies that Jasmine and Brooke have been looking at, and have been looking with Tina at some of these options. I've made suggestions to Jasmine with a couple other names to check with people as well, to talk about how to keep the contract coming and keep things going so that there's not going to be a horrible gap for the women who are in treatment, if it's possible at all. I think I've said quite enough. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Kate. That's a very interesting history, and also it's opinions are very important, because when you're moving out of one program and trying to find other places for it, you have to explore all possibilities. And the best thing you can do is give your experience and your knowledge, and thank you for that. So now we're going to be able to hear from Jasmine and from Brooke. And what I did, Jasmine's name is Palmer and Brooke's last name is Ross. So I went in alphabetical order, ladies. So let's go ahead and call with Jasmine. And after Brooke is finished, we will have a time for our questions. So this is it. We're going to have Brooke on, we have Jasmine on now. Jasmine, are you there where I can?
I'm here.
There you are, my love. Okay, go ahead.
If it's okay, I'm going to let Brooke go first. I don't know how long she has with us. And so,
okay.
I think, yeah, that's okay.
Thank you, Jasmine. Okay, just in short, I am an alumni of Athena House, as I said earlier. Next Monday will be my 8 years sober. Athena House was not my first program. I kept thinking that Kate Jenkins looked so familiar, and where have I met her before? And I think it was probably in the jail, where my addiction ended me up 8 years ago. So I had a terrible addiction to alcohol. I ended up getting several DUIs, going to jail, and being sentenced, referred to Athena House for 6 months. With an additional aftercare, and then the other kind of probation requirements. All in all, it was about 4.5 years of dedication and obligation and things to before I was, let's say, free. But it saved my life. So Athena House was the 6th program that I had been to, residential treatment. I had been to another program for up to 9 months. I struggled with alcoholism in addition to an eating disorder, which I had had for most of my life since I was 14. And it wasn't until I got to Athena House that I was able to find recovery. And it wasn't that, what was different for me was the women there. So when I heard, I have remained very passionate and very close to the program over the last 8 years. I live not far from the program. I sponsor women from the program. I now manage 2 hotels in Sonoma County and also do real estate. And so during the pandemic and kind of labor shortages, I was working with Sylvie and also Brooke over at Turning Point and interviewing folks from there and hiring them at one or both of the locations that I manage. And of the folks that we have hired there, we still have 5 total employees from both programs with us today. So, over a year later. I know what the program did for me. I've seen what it's done for hundreds of women after me, women I sponsored. I know what it has done for tens of thousands of women before me that I meet in the community, whose paths we cross and are immediately connected because of that shared experience. I, like many of you, could not imagine that a decision had been made to close this program when Sonoma County is ranking number 3 in fentanyl deaths. We have a huge housing crisis as it is, and that we would take some of our most vulnerable population at a time when they're honestly, as they're going through their treatment program and reliving some of these traumas and reasons that they turn to drug and alcohols. And at that time, we're telling them that they and their children are no longer going to have a place to live, and the support that they've been, promised when they accepted the referral or the community bed or whatever it was. So that just debilitates me with sadness. And Jasmine and I have been working to find a solution, to connect with people, to raise awareness, to speak to the powers that be. We've even gone as far as speaking with an attorney to look at starting our own 501c3 and seeing what grant funds we might qualify for and be able to just anything. We've gone all over the board to try to see what we can do. And so I think that all of the folks who are on this call tonight is so impressive to me and so heartwarming, and just to hear the stories and the origin of the program, and to see so many people passionate about saving it. I have no doubt that something will come of it. I don't know what it looks like. I'm putting that in God's hands. But we will continue with all of your support and with others out there who are willing to support the program to find some sort of a solution, whatever that looks like. I just know that we don't, they've already stopped referring folks, is what we understand. And so, that I know that it is a time sensitive need. So I think I'll leave with that. I owe everything I have to this program. And so, there literally isn't anything I won't do to it succeed or be reborn in some way. So thank you all.
Well, I want to thank you, Brooke, and congratulations, my love, on 8 years. That's quite an accomplishment. Those of us who have gone through and know what it's like, that's a big accomplishment. And you're such a beautiful young woman. And I'm glad you found Athena House, and I'm glad it was there. If it wasn't there, you wouldn't have found it, and then you couldn't even be able to tell your story. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now let's hear from Jasmine. There you go, Jasmine. I don't know why my eyes just don't want to go ahead.
It might be my shirt making it a little busy. I don't know. I was wondering about wearing stripes on Zoom, but sorry if it is to anybody. Well, so I've been pretty connected to Athena House, I think, ever since my experience going through the program. After I completed treatment, I continued to volunteer and stay connected. And then in 2015, I was a counselor there. And then I was a board member for CHD. So I've realized how much, well, I guess my intentions behind all of that, of staying that connected throughout, this time. I didn't realize, that I had motives, and it's because it saved my life multiple times. I get emotional talking about it. So, well, you know what, I'll share a little bit because of where I come from and like my childhood, because I think my story is like one of many that I've heard of the women that have gone through that program. So I grew up in a home, it was substance use and physical violence and, criminal justice. That was all, it was generational. It was continued. There was cycles of that ran through my family for a long time. And, primarily like the violence and abuse, so, there was some things that happened in my childhood that were pretty traumatic that I think kind of spiraled my addiction. My sister got into a car accident and became paraplegic when she was 15. And then my brother, when he was 15, he ran away because our house was pretty scary. And he ended up murdering somebody and going away to California Youth Authority for 10 years. And so, so by the age of 15 myself, I was gone on my own, and I was using meth on a daily basis, already. And I was very suicidal. I think I was, it was really, really scary during my teenage years. But, and I managed like that, I managed like that for almost 20 years. So almost 20 years, I drank and used meth almost daily. And, until I started, it was just part of the lifestyle where criminal, the committing crimes. It became probably became more of an addiction than anything. And so I'd cycle through jail, and I get bailed out, or I just do a short period of time and I get out. And that continued on for a while where, I was homeless. I was homeless, living in my car with my kids. It got to a point where I couldn't take care of my kids anymore, and I couldn't barely take care of myself. I mean, that probably had gone on for a long time, but I was looking at doing a longer sentence than usual. And I remember sitting, I had never experienced any kind of recovery or anything. And we were in the holding cell waiting to go into court. And this one girl, I remember, and I've seen her since this, but she told me, she's like, you need to ask for treatment. She's like, you need to ask to go to Athena House. That's where girls learn how to be women. And I remember thinking like, gosh, I have kind of lived like an adolescent for long enough, I'm ready to be a woman. And so I asked for help, and of course, my first thought was 30 days in Turning Point, where it's co-ed and I can smoke cigarettes and it'll be easy. But I got 6 months in Athena House, but after I completed my sentence, and it was probably the most impacting, it most definitely was the most impactful experience that really carved out where my life has gone since. I think the structure, I'm a firm believer, the structure and the programming, it's set up in ways that people get to learn how to learn, we learn basic skills, that most people don't realize that it's foreign for a lot of us. So that was, and then eventually you go on job search. And I was at the house on Humboldt. And I remember when we got this stone house, and we all got to clean it out and work on it and stuff and get it ready for us to move in. And I was the first graduate of the stone house. So I was at the stone house for 6 days before I completed treatment. And there was a handful of us that would be able to get to go there in the evening time. And it was so scary, but it was like that mansion going home, to this beautiful stone building. It was just amazing. It was amazing. But so since then, I've stayed connected to Athena House, and times have gotten tough where it's like their doors are always open, and I've always been able to go there, no matter what. And it's, the staff is always very welcoming, and and I think another piece is like walking in there and your life could be in shambles, but you're still sober. And there's all these women new in the program, and you still have something to offer them. And that's powerful. It's this continued cycle of the women that came before us, and we continue to, and it just passes its way on, and it's powerful. It's powerful. Like walking in there and I saw, working there as a counselor, I saw so many miracles unfold, just so many miracles. And so when this all came about, it was pretty abrupt, and I was a board member, and I felt kind of responsible, and I felt like I needed to take action right away, and something needed to happen. And so I kind of hit the ground running. At some points, I think I got ahead of myself and stopped and was like, I'm scheduling like these emergency meetings with Tina Rivera. Like, who am I? Like, I don't know am I allowed to do these kinds of things? I don't know, but I know that something needed to be done because of, knowing like the statistics of our county. In 2019, our county was number 10 with the highest fatal overdoses from fentanyl. And as of 2022, we're number 3. And so with not having any treatment options, and being number 3, it's very obvious that stigma is still very alive and well. So no matter how many people I surround myself with that, are firm believers in, rehabilitation and mental health and substance use, and the stigma is still alive, or else there'd be a lot more funding and we'd be complaining that there's too many services. And so, and I think that all of this has happened for a reason, because this is an opportunity also to really address some of those issues and hopefully grow. I think that we need an all men's treatment program. I think that we definitely need more models like Athena House, and it's, it's important. It's life-changing, you know. I mean, my daughters, I have 2 teenage girls, and I just, you know, I think of their chances, you know, they're absolutely amazing. I complain horribly, but you know, they're like nothing like I was. And I think of their, you know, their chances of living like how I lived, and, you know, and people, you know, my family members are less likely because of the opportunity I had at Athena House. You know, so it's breaking those generational cycles that continue on, that, you know, land people in jail. You know, it's the recidivism. It impacts us in so many different ways, you know, and everything kind of bleeds together, you know, and it's really, it's, you know, this whole, like, it's been pretty, it's been overwhelming, I think, just going through all of this. I mean, in a good way and in a bad way, because I get ahead of myself sometimes, but, you know, so what we've worked on quite a few different things and ideas, and, you know, there's been a lot of support along the way. I think, you know, in a perfect world, I would love to see somehow for the heart of this program to continue, because I think that's what really creates Athena House, you know. And so no matter who the service provider is, you know, I think that there's a lot more to it that has gone into this program for almost 50 years. You know, it's been around 44 years, and I've had so many alumni come out of the woodwork and just say, what can I do? Where, you know, and it speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. You know, Jody Rogers that, you know, was mentioned. I just saw her get an award for, you know, creating this program that reunifies, you know, supports the reunification with kids, with their parents and stuff. And, you know, and that's it. She's Athena House alumni. You know, there's important pieces of it that I think that if we can keep those preserved somehow along the way, then, you know, then we did a job well done. You know, as long as Athena, I'm pretty confident. I know with hearing, you know, from Tina and Melissa from the county, I know that we will be able to keep Athena House alive, but I guess my biggest concern is keeping the heart of it alive. And you know, sometimes I have to take a step back and is that just me being overprotective parent, you know, like Kate was talking about. But, you know, I think that there's more to it. There's more to it. You know, there's the reasons why miracles unfold there. But so we've worked on, you know, finding a service provider. There's some people that, you know, would be ideal. I know I have my whole picture of what would be, you know, what would happen in a perfect world, but, and then we need a location. And so we're working on fundraising. And so ideally we would be able to purchase the Stone House from CHD, because that would be the most timely location to keep the licensing and everything like that. So that's been something that's been a work in progress, but you know, there's been discussion about creating like a combined kind of you know, multiple different providers or donors that would want to, you know, all pitch in on the funding for the Stone House, and which I think the thought of that sounds kind of cool. It's just seeing how the community is really pulled together from all different walks of life is pretty neat, you know. So and having it be, you know, that setting, but so there's been a lot of conversation and a lot of things that we've been working on. And Brooke and I, we also explored the idea of getting our own 501c3 and having it expedited if, you know, we had pending funding, and you know, there's that I think maybe I'm just dreaming more so, but so yeah, there's a lot of things. I'm sure you guys will have questions, but yeah, that's all I got for now. Thanks for listening.
Well, thank you, Jasmine. You know, you said something really interesting. You said, who am I? And, you know, I was looking at you, and I just want to tell you, I think you're just a woman that has courage. I mean, one of the things that I found out through working with people that had, I mean, I had my own substance abuse problems, you know, so I know working with women, it takes a lot of courage to recover. It takes a lot of courage to look at yourself. It takes a lot of courage to listen. But the good news is that you had the women to listen to you and to hold your hand and to help you move through it. At the same time, had their own agenda, their program that they knew if you would work through it, that you would make it. So thank you so much for sharing, both you and Brooke, your honesty about, you know, being recovering yourself. So I thank you so much. That's wonderful. So that's the end of our speakers. And I just want to thank everybody. It was just absolutely wonderful. And so now I want to open it up for questions. And it looks like it's at 7:07. So I'd like to go probably around, the next 15 minutes with questions and answers. And also someone to explain to me, how do I get to page 2?
So Elaine, there's a couple things. One, Victoria has a question. She has her hand raised. And the other, to get to page 2, there's little arrows on the side of your screen.
Okay, so I see. Okay, so the little hand. Thank you. Thank you. You know, Amy, when I was born, we didn't even have television. I mean, I'm sure I can recognize a hand up. Okay, Victoria, you have a question, my love. Victoria.
Yes, I'm sorry, I had to unmute. I was just wondering what the capacity is at Stone House. And for some reason, I thought that there was an Athena House on Sonoma or somewhere near the Doyle Poland and Sonoma. So I didn't know if you had one facility or two, and I was wondering what the capacity was for the Stone House and how many people were serviced before this crisis came up.
Who would like to answer that?
I could answer it.
Go ahead.
So the capacity right now at the Stone House is 38. And that's how many, that's the max capacity. And before at Humboldt Street, it was 20. And so, and I don't know how many people they have serviced in their lifespan. Is that what you're asking, Victoria?
No, I thought there was 2 facilities going on at the same time.
So Athena House is the actual program. The Stone House is the building itself. And also, to make it even more confusing, there's Casa Teresa, which is also another program that's included, which is for women and children. So that's how they have the capacity to have, I think it's up to 4 kids living there with their moms at a time.
All right, thank you.
So we
Deborah,
have
you have a question, Deborah?
Yeah.
I would really like to hear from Tina in terms of what the county is doing about this situation. So if Tina would be willing to share, what initiatives they're taking, I'd really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. We've been working with staff who are at the Athena House for placement options for the clients, the residents that we have at the Athena House. Melissa, I'm going to turn it over to Melissa, who's been working closely with those particular staff, who can answer better than I, because she's been boots on the ground. And so we've been working with various providers, solutioning for not only our clients in residential care, but our clients who've been in outpatient care. And then, of course, we are poised, if you will, for whomever is going to be, looking at a longer term solution to take a look at, contracting with those providers and putting out RFPs and things of that nature, and doing what we can to support other providers who come online with funding. So I'll let Melissa speak to more about what we've been doing to coordinate care for the residents who are in those programs.
Thanks, Tina. Yeah, so, a couple of things. We do have some existing providers that we've been reaching out to and talking with, and just seeing what their capacity is and the ability to be able to take on some of these programs. So we're still in conversation with a few different providers. We're looking at potentially one to be able to at least help to ensure continuity of care for our existing clients that are currently in treatment, that would still actually be in treatment at the end when the closure takes place. So we're really focusing on making sure that those individuals continue to get treatment and are getting the support that they need. So that's part of it. That's finding housing and finding treatment options for those individuals currently in treatment in the short term. And we're also looking at ways that we here in the county can support these programs, as Tina mentioned. So we're really been a lot of conversations with not only the existing staff, but like I mentioned, there's concerned individuals coming from all parts of the community to talk about this and come together. And I think it's a real testament to how amazing this program is, and what an impact it has on the community. So it is really our intention to work hard to find some short-term solutions, but also long-term solutions. And I think we're getting close to a little bit on both. We're in a very regular talks with a lot of different folks. So, hopefully we'll have an answer soon and try and figure something out. I'm meeting with probation this week to talk with them to figure out what we can do on that end. We're looking at our different options, even just buildings inside the county that might be something we can look at too. So we're looking at a lot of different ways, but we're hoping to have some answers pretty soon. So I hope that answers a little bit more.
Melissa, can I ask you a quick question? What particular supervisors are working on it? Because my feeling is it's always a good idea to let them know that the women in the community are watching, listening, and want their support. So who is working with you?
I can answer that.
I was gonna say, I was just do that. Thank you, Tina.
I've been keeping all of the supervisors updated regularly. And of course, this is of particular interest to Supervisor Coursey. So just so you know, I send weekly updates to the all 5 supervisors. And then of course I have regular check-ins with all of them. And then Supervisor Coursey and I talk regularly, specifically on this topic.
Amelia, you have your hand raised. Amelia?
Jerry has a question in the chat.
Hi, this is Emila Aguilar.
Go ahead.
I've been a volunteer at California Human Development for about 17 years now, and Athena House is the closest and dearest to me among the programs. I recently resigned from the board of directors. I was the chair for several years, and for the reason being that I am disgusted about the action being done. Now, I would like to explain what our challenge really is. The challenge is that even if we have the program, we do not have a place to house it. So it is a two-pronged problem. One is the program, the other is where to provide services. So I've been looking at, how to acquire Stonehouse. And at first, we had thought that it would only be about $1 million to $1.2 million to acquire Stonehouse. But the last I heard was that CHD is asking for $3 million.
Oh my God. You know what they paid for it?
I know. They only paid $1 million for it because it was a fire sale. Anyway, I already had several interests lined up that they were willing to put up the 1 million or 1.2 million, but at 3 million, that would be very difficult. So that's the big challenge we have. And we need the help of whoever to be able to come up with something so that we can have a house for the program, because the program works. And like I said, it's very near and dear to my heart. When they acquired Stonehouse, I was part of the group that I even put the money to start the escrow to acquire that. And so it hurts me so bad. So now our challenge is, like I said, we keep the program, we have the county, we have the people behind us, but where are we going to operate the program from?
So Amelia, are you saying that you already have people behind you that are willing to put up that amount of money to find a facility?
I might have the people, yes.
Oh, okay. So then that's one of the needs, to see if there's any property that can be found.
Right now, yeah. If we had, and I think I heard it from, I think Tina, or that that's the challenge. That's why they had to look around for providers around the county who could have the capacity to take these women. But, you know, like Jasmine had said, capacity at Stonehouse was like 38, and probably if we put the Casa Teresa, about 4 children, but we don't have that much capacity among the other programs, which at this point is like Center Point and Turning Point, and the other one, I don't think they will have room. So they will have to be referred out of the county. So this is the help that we need right now. The money to get the place to operate from, or a place, even if it is for a few months until we get our act together, we can purchase that building, then we need that. That's the immediate need.
Gary said something, Gary, in your chat, you said 3 million for all 38 unit facility is in line, but CHCC has to show why the price is reasonable. What is your thought on that? I'm just curious what you mean by that.
So a house in Sonoma County is $1 million in a lot of instances, any particular neighborhood. So the cost of, if you compared it to the cost of the Azura Hotel or the Sebastopol Inn or any other motel hotel right now, you know, those fit, that's kind of what property and land and facilities cost. However, you know, if CHD is truly a nonprofit, they have to show what that, you know, do they need that money to pay off debt that they acquired to maintain the facility or to build the facility, whatever that is. The $3 million is an issue, but if it can be shown that it's reasonable, then they or whomever could take those to financial institutions and determine that this is a viable operation using that particular building. Otherwise, we have to go find another building.
So are you saying in the nonprofit world, there's a different way of evaluating?
No, in the nonprofit world, in the CHD world, if they're a nonprofit, they can't take a profit on this building, or they shouldn't take a profit on this building.
I see. Wow.
So, but it's not unreasonable that they put that kind of money in over the years. So it's just sort of having those open conversations or private conversations are more likely to be what they're going to be. If 3 million is what's needed, let's go find 3 million. So.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I was thinking, I can't remember the name of the place that does social advocates for youth, where they were training the people. They had a school. Evelyn Cheatham was the one who spearheaded it. And when I'll never forget, when they wanted to get that facility going, there's money in this county. They got it, and they bought a house, and they got the facility. So I know it's a possibility once we put it, you know, once we, you know, people really get together. It sounds like these people are really doing a lot of hard work. Okay, anybody else have any questions?
Victoria has one, but also Gregory.
Who?
Victoria first and then Gregory.
Okay, go ahead, Victoria.
Yeah, I just wanted to say real quick that it just doesn't seem right that CHDC would be receiving funding for women's recovery services. And then when they bought the property with the funding that was for that purpose, that they could abandon the purpose,
right,
but maintain the funding, because I know that when nonprofits go bankrupt, they have to take their assets and give it to another organization that serves a similar function to the community. So I don't think they should be taking a profit. And also they should probably give up that asset because it belongs to the community.
No, it wasn't structured that way. So yeah, so that's all I can say at this point.
Gregory, you had a question, my friend?
Well, it wasn't a question as much as a comment about the process of transferring the asset. As Kate remembers, these buildings were all bought with housing authority money from the city of Santa Rosa. All of us have loans from the housing authority who jealously guards the use of the buildings for long-term low-income housing. This week, the Planning Commission and the Housing Authority met, and among the things they talked about was a report from the Housing Authority Director, Megan, who said basically, we are aware of the Athena House problem and we are watching and we are concerned that the loss of the asset may take place. They're an interested party, more so than just watching you. They own, the city owns the property. The city has a loan against the property, which is primary. And whoever's going to get that property is going to have to pay attention to the loan. They're going to have to, CHDC can't just sell the thing. They're going to have to make a deal with the housing authority that whoever buys it is going to continue it in the purposes in which it was originally given, which was for low income individuals. And so whoever's going to buy this, it's not a clean, clear million or two or three purchase. It's a satisfaction of a long-term loan that is going to dictate its use.
That is a very good point, and I think we can plan from there and find out. Because if I remember right, the county gave like $300,000 or something. I'm not sure about the structure, but I will find out.
And also, I'm thinking, Amelia, I'm going to be doing an interview with Jasmine and Brooke on the 20th, and you're welcome to to participate also. I mean, since you have been so involved, and I mean, I can see, I hear you worked for CHCC and you resigned over this issue. You're an important person to hear from. So I thank you. So is there any other questions that we have? You have another question, Deborah? Go ahead.
I just wanted to know if you were going to share the information that there is a fundraising effort going on where people can make donations to try to save Athena House. It's a change.org petition. And maybe we could put that out to the people who attended today. I don't know if we have people's information. I don't have it handy, or I put it in the chat. And then there's also a petition to try and save Athena House that people could sign. So those things are both happening.
So you know what I think? I think what I'll do is I'll get the information from Brooke and from Jasmine, and then we'll list it on the NOW website. How does
That'd be great.
Yeah, how does that sound? So this way at least people will know what's going on. Are there any other questions?
I had a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, Kate, we sure can.
Do you all remember Children's Village? I'm not talking about Los Willicos. I'm talking about the Children's Village that Leah Rowley set up for kids who were transitioning out of foster care. And Joe Montana stepped in and funded it. And then for a variety of reasons, Leah died and it sort of went away. What happened to that property? Does anybody know? I have no idea, but I assume there, and I don't know. Anyway, just a question.
There is another property too that CHD also owns. It used to be our house, which was our house. Remember our house?
Yeah.
Yeah. So CHD took over the program and it closed because I think the funding changed and a lot of things changed so that it wasn't any more feasible, or it was phased out somehow. So there are 4 structures right now on 2.5 acres, and it's being used for the sober living environment, so that graduates from Athena House could move there, rent a room, and have their kids, and so that it is a sober living environment. So that they also want to sell.
Can I just add really fast? So there's the Stone House, and then there's Hope Village. Hope Village has in its different lots. So it's three different lots. And there's actually, so there's, I think 30 plus women and children living at that location. And so they're allowed to stay there until the property sells, but then they'll have 60 days that they'll have to move out of there. But I mean, ideally our initial plans and intent was to raise enough money to purchase that property and do renovations and find a way to put the treatment program on that site. That was prior to conversation around purchasing the Stone House. So I mean, ideally we could raise enough money to purchase the Stone House and Hope Village. Both of them are, so I mean, they're both vital and they work hand in hand. So that's and there is a GoFundMe and there's a petition going around, which I'll share that information. So, and we're doing a big fundraiser on July 23rd, and I will send out the invitations for that as well.
Yeah, make sure you get me, make sure that you.
I just put it in the chat. I found it, and so the petition to save Athena House and the GoFundMe account, the links are in the chat now. I was able to find them.
Thank you.
Deborah, you're a wonder. You're a wonder. I mean, it's just amazing, you know, and you know, we're hitting 7:28 now, and I think that we've had a really, really great meeting. I want to acknowledge, before we say goodbye, I want to acknowledge one person that's on, Alicia Sanchez, our president of KBBF 89.1 FM. Hi, Alicia. So happy that you're here. I mean, we have so many women and so much support in this community. I believe in my heart of hearts that just this one event, we had 33 women show up. 30 women and 3 men. I mean, and it's really important to have male allies. And I thank you everybody for being here. But we just showed up for this meeting, and multiply that by hundreds of people out there that really believe in programs for women and really believe in helping others. I know that about this community. And so I think having it recorded, and it's going to hit many, many people, and I hope that it does some good. So I'm going to call for any last comments, and then I'm going to have a closing remark, and that's it. Any last comments, any last thoughts? Would you like to say anything else, Jasmine? And thank you for the beautiful presentation. And Lynn Woolsey's not here. Thank you. And thank Brooke. I know Brooke had to go early. She had another thing. And so thank you, everybody, for taking. Pardon? Did you want to say something?
Go ahead,
Myla.
I did have one last comment, and that's that if I thought it was just a surprise, even to the corporation, that they were closing Athena House. And now, from what I learned tonight, it sounds like they saw it coming from a ways away. And this is very disappointing, because it seems like they could have applied for some of the funding that has been coming down to the county, like ARPA or other funding sources. I just think it's sad that they didn't get in on it. Thank you.
You say something interesting, which is, I don't know if you remember, I mentioned about George Ortiz. I thought it was very interesting that he passed away and all of a sudden this happened. I mean, because I know how dedicated he was. And Amelia, I'm sure he'll agree with me. He was very dedicated to these nonprofit programs. Would you agree with me, Amelia?
Absolutely. George and I, we were at Athena. So George was Santa Claus to Athena House women since it started. And then in 2015, he told me that he was retiring from being Santa Claus. And so I said, George, I will get you a Santa Claus. And so my partner and I, since 2016, have been Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus. So every year we are there, we give presents to the women, and until the Christmas before George died. So he came to the parties, but he was a retired Santa Claus. And so I was Mrs. Claus. So that's why it's very near and dear to me.
Oh, yeah.
And what really pained me was the day after the newspaper article on the Press Democrat came out. Carol Ortiz, George's wife, called me crying.
Oh my God.
And she said that George would never have allowed that. He would mortgage our house if he had to save. And so, and again, like what I promised George at his deathbed was that I will be there for Athena House for as long as I can, for so long as I can. And then, so that was my promise to George.
You know, George Ortiz was an amazing man. You know, they had a special thing for him at the Board of Supervisors. And I happened to be there that day. And it's been 40 years since I saw him. And I walked up to him. I said, "Oh my God, George." And he goes, "Elaine." I almost passed out that he even remembered my name.
Yeah.
And I know how dedicated. I know I would sit there. He was always worried, "Oh, are we going to have enough money? Are we going to get?" I mean, it was, you know, there's a spirit in this program that is alive and well. And I really feel that something is going to happen. And I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up, for answering my emails, you know, for participating. And I know that as we walk away and we start thinking about this, we all know people with money. We all know people with organizations. You know, contact them, let them know that this is recorded. They can hear the history. They can hear the women talking about it. They can hear the passion. They can hear what Amelia said about her promise to a man who did so much for our community. I mean, in a time when very little was being done in our community. When CETA came in and all these programs came in, it was just an amazing thing that happened. And it's sad that we have to struggle. So I'm going to call for any last comments. And then I'm going to make one more announcement, and that is I'm going to turn it over to Amy and let her tell you how you can come to the meetings at the National Organization for Women, Sonoma County chapter. As women, whether you come to the meetings or not, become a member. Why is it to become a member? When I show up at the Board of Supervisors, the City Council, and I say I'm the treasurer at the time, I used to love when I say I'm the president of the National Organization for Women. You've got 250,000 women behind you across the country. So it's very important that we support it. And it's also important that we support our local radio stations, because that's where you get a lot of creativity, a lot of answers, you know, and those things are becoming less and less, and we have some treasures. So I'm going to end. I want to thank you. Thank you for allowing me to facilitate, and thank you for responding to me. And I look forward, remember, on the 20th, which is next Monday, I'm going to be interviewing Jasmine and Brooke. Let your friends know about it. It's at 11 o'clock on 89.1 FM. And at that time, you can have more and more of your friends that get educated about this process and see what they can contribute. So go ahead, Amy, it's yours.
Oh, thank you. Well, I've had some questions on where we will be able to view the recording. We will have it posted on our website, which is nowsonoma.org. We also will have it on our YouTube channel, and that link I can find and post, but I'd love it if you could put your emails into chat. I'm saving the chat, then I can go and I can send you personally the link to the recording once. But if you could do that, then that'll be great for being able to contact us. I'm also going to put in my personal email so that you can write me, and I'll make sure that I have it if you'd rather not put it in the chat.
Well, thank you, Amy.
But it's been wonderful. Thank you, Elaine, for getting this together. Thank you to all the speakers and to everyone who participated. Diana Goodrow, it looks like you have your hand up.
Diana, put yourself, unmute yourself, love.
I just want to say thank you. I learned a great deal, and I hope you keep me on your list of staying in touch, okay?
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Last call.
Rebecca has her hand up.
I just wanted to say that if you want to be, if you want to receive our newsletter, which is a secret list that doesn't get copied out to anything else, we can't really do that unless you specifically say it's okay with you to be on the newsletter list. So we're very careful about that. But just giving us your email address isn't enough. So you have to really say that that you would like to get the newsletter for nowsonoma.org, and we send it out every month, and nothing else. We won't be putting you on to all kinds of marketing things or anything else.
Right. And if you haven't put down that you want to be on the newsletter, that's fine. If you write me and just, I'll write you back and I'll say, do you want to be on the newsletter? And then we'll have that. So that's just fine. We have a board meeting next Monday here. The same Zoom link it goes from 7 to 8 or 8:30, depending on how much business we have. But we'd love to have you. We'd love to have more suggestions of ways that now can be supportive of you and your organizations, or of any issues that you've heard about that we need to get involved in as much as we can. And finally, we will have a presence at the Juneteenth celebration in Santa Rosa, which is next Saturday, in fact. And Elaine will be there with KBB FA, but she'll also be representing NOW.
Oh, at the Juneteenth, yeah, Juneteenth is happening. Oh my goodness, I forgot all about that. Juneteenth is happening on the 18th of Saturday, the 18th, at the Martin Luther King Jr. Park near the fairgrounds. There's recommending that you try to come early because there's going to be a little bit of difficulty parking because they're having some events at the fairground. And also the good news is, if you want to march with young people, they're having a march to honor Vince Harper. Vince Harper was a community man. I mean, he was one of these go-to people. He worked for community action. He was just a wonderful man. And we're honoring him by doing a march from Gilliard Park. And we have the famous Hubbub band that's going to be leading the march, which is, I mean, it's so much fun. They're the most fun that you could ever imagine. And it's a celebration of freedom. It's a celebration of liberty. And it's also one of the things I love about Juneteenth is that we all come together. We all come together, different races, different colors, different ideas, and it's just a fun party. And we're going to have some great bands and great food. And we're having a special children's reading by Dr. Diana Gayer, who is, she writes all these different books explaining how to get along together. That's the best way I can put it. So it's Saturday the 18th from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Okay. I guess
stopping the recording now, but thank you.